Okay, so let's put this together in the full concept. So we're going to be looking at the proximity, using eye contact, using verbal direction as well, and also the whole physical frame. So let's start with what I call the assumptive question. I mean, this was a great technique that I used in my nursing career, and it's not my idea, it's widely used within the medical fraternity. And it's the idea of asking a question while you are doing something. So in this case, I'm going to be asking Daniele the question, do you have anything in your pocket? But more importantly, I'm going to be asking, can I have a look to see what you have in your pocket? Now, if I were to ask him this question on its own, he has time to think about whether he's okay with it, and he will either say yes or he will say no. But either way, he's now very much focused on what he has in his pocket and whether or not he's willing to allow me to go there. However, if I ask him the question at the same time as doing it, by the time he has time to think about it, the moment's over, and the only thing he can do is say, yes, that's fine. Let me show you what I mean. So from a distance again, I'm going to be looking at him from a distance. So here I can have eye contact because I'm not too close to him. I'm going to break that eye contact as I step in and go for the pocket. Don't worry about the technique itself of the steal. I'll cover that later. We're really thinking about the attention management at this stage. So I'm going to be using the proximity to have eye contact, break eye contact as I come in, drawing his attention and then moving his attention with verbal commands and physical gestures. Okay, so to put it into the full context, it would be, Daniel, do you mind if I have a look and see what you have in your pocket? I notice you have a few things down there as well, yes? So by the time I get to the end of the sentence, the dirty work is already done. Okay, before he has time to think about whether it's okay, it's already happened. But it's not just the physical technique of me taking it out of his pocket that's interesting here, it's the flow of attention. It's this idea of saying, do you mind if I do something while I'm doing it? You know, do you mind if I have a look inside your jacket pocket? He doesn't have time to really understand the question. He certainly doesn't have time to answer it. And by the time it's over, he has no real alternatives just to say, yeah, sure, that's fine, because it's done. It's happened. Yeah, it's similarly, it's a little bit like when we were, in nursing. We would take somebody's blood pressure, and you would walk in with the blood pressure cuff, the sphygmomanometer, and you would as you walked up to them, you would say, "Do you mind if I take your blood pressure today?" And by the time the cuff was on, you'd finished the sentence. And actually the person said, yes, that's fine. And weirdly, that is consent by the nature of law. But it stopped a nervous patient being able to say, oh, well, no, I'm not sure. Because it's already happening around them and it feels comfortable and they've got no reason to question it. And this is a really good technique to have, particularly for your first moment, the first sort of dip, the first moment of going to the pocket. Do you mind if I have a look to see what you have in your pocket? Notice I'm asking the question as I'm doing it. I'm breaking eye contact and I'm feeding down and bringing all his attention here. As soon as it comes down here, though, I'm bringing his attention back up with a physical movement, a gesture, and a question as it comes out. Do you mind if I have a look what you have in your pocket? I notice that you have a few things down here. So we have physical misdirection that draws the attention because of the touch. We have the movement of my body lifting his attention up, and then as soon as it comes up, it's being flown down to another pocket, to another question, another statement. I noticed you had a few things in there earlier, all of which has covered the fact that I've got what I wanted, which is, as it happens to be, my own phone. But I've got my phone back, okay? So this is really to show you how a mixture of the proximity idea of breaking eye contact, focusing attention down to create that grey area, and then moving the spotlight of his attention away from where we want it. And in this case, we're moving the attention up, across, and down. So it's very hard for him to mentally come back to the start point without having to backtrack a lot of information. But by the time we have got to this end point here and I've taken the phone, he's no longer thinking about this pocket. He's now thinking about what he has in here. Oh, what do I have in my pocket? I think, yes, I've got a set of keys. All right, yeah, I think my credit cards are in there. But it's very, very hard, nigh on impossible for his mind to backtrack all the way back down to here. But of course, now I have one object, I'm one ahead to make it easier for the next things to happen. So this is about proximity. It's about the use of multiple layers of attention management. And this to me is the real secret of stealing. It's not the physical technique of how many fingers do I go in with and what's my angle, etc. But it's more about if I can give his brain, his eyes and his thought process things to focus on that take him away from the physicality of what I'm doing down here, then I'm able to pick his pockets. You know, there's no two ways about it. It is impossible for me to, let's imagine we're on a train and I want to steal a phone out of his pocket. It doesn't matter how slow I am and how careful I am, he is going to feel every single moment of this. It would be impossible for him not to sense everything that's happening. I mean, if I were to just sort of touch a little tiny hair on the back of his neck, he can feel that. His senses are good enough to pick that data up. But if he's focused on something else, the body shuts down that information. It's no longer valid. So this allows me, even from a pair of relatively tight jeans, I mean, these aren't too bad, but even from a pair of tight jeans, this allows me to steal something, to come in, have that eye contact, have the attentions all up here, ask him a question as I do it, and misdirect his attention around. And with all this other stimuli, physical and mental stimuli, he becomes unaware of these sensations. They take a back seat. Very similar to if you've ever had that feeling, if you've ever had that experience of maybe doing some gardening and you've cut yourself, and then you come into the house unaware that it's happened. You're watching television an hour later, and then for some reason you happen to look at your leg and you see the blood, and then you realize you've been cut, and then it starts to hurt. While your body or your mind wasn't focused on something, it isn't noticeable. It becomes irrelevant. It is outside of your perception. And that's exactly what we're creating here. We're creating a little zone that is so far out of his perception, not only does he not see what's going on, but he can't feel what's going on, and he certainly won't be able to perceive what's going on. Okay, so that's all about proximity and blending these techniques together.